Hello, my friend. Welcome back. Or maybe welcome for the first time. Today, I want to tell you a story. A real story. A story that is not perfect, but powerful. It is about a man who lost his hope and found it again through English. This is not just about grammar or vocabulary. This is about finding your voice, about seeing your life change, word by word. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you think you are too slow, too old, too afraid. But listen closely. Listen with your heart. Because this story is for you. You will learn English today. But more than that, you will learn to believe in yourself again. So relax. Breathe. Let this story guide you. You are not alone on this journey. You will improve your English and your life. Now, let us begin. His name is Daniel. He is 41 years old. He works as a night guard in a quiet building near the train station every evening at 6:30 p.m. He puts on his uniform, takes his flashlight, and walks to the building alone without saying much. He used to be a teacher. Many years ago, he loved his students. He loved books. But life changed. Everything became difficult too quickly. He lost his job when the school closed down. Then he lost his confidence. And slowly, he stopped talking to people as much as before. Now, he spends most nights alone. He watches cameras, checks the lights, and waits for morning. Silence becomes his closest friend. Sometimes, he plays soft music on his phone. Sometimes, he reads messages from his sister. But most nights, he just sits in his small chair. His eyes are tired, but his mind keeps running. He thinks about what he used to dream and how far away it all feels. Daniel once wanted to travel. He wanted to visit England, Australia, maybe Canada. He wanted to speak English fluently. That was the plan. But he always told himself he was too busy, too tired. Maybe later. Later never came. The dream slowly turned into regret. One night, during his shift, he found an old book in the lost and found box. It was a beginner English grammar book. He laughed quietly when he opened it. The pages were simple. The words were small. But something inside him said, maybe this is a sign. He took the book home after work. He read the first page with sleepy eyes. It said, hello. My name is Anna. I am a student. Daniel smiled. It was too easy. But also, it was comforting. He read it again, and then whispered the sentence aloud. His voice sounded strange in the quiet room, but he kept reading. Just one page that night. Then he fell asleep on the sofa. The next morning, he made coffee and looked at the book again. This time, he read page 2. What is your name? Where are you from? He repeated the questions out loud, again and again. It felt like music. Simple, slow, but honest. For the first time in a long time, he felt something new. He brought the book to work that night. While watching the cameras, he opened it and read. His English was bad. His accent was heavy. But he tried. Some guards at work played games on their phones. Others watched movies. Daniel studied 5 English sentences every night. That became his new habit. He did not tell anyone. Not yet. He was afraid people would laugh. He was afraid someone would say, "You're too old." Why now? But inside, he was curious. What if he could do this? What if, even at 41, he could begin again? Daniel started to notice things. Street signs, ads on the internet, movie subtitles. English was everywhere. Before, he ignored it. Now, he wanted to understand. He began to write words in a notebook. Just 10 words each day. Door, window, smile, walk, happy, light, train, late, alone, learn. Sometimes he whispered the words while walking. People looked at him strangely. He didn't care. The words felt like steps, steps out of the dark. One night, it rained very hard. He forgot his umbrella. He arrived at work, soaking wet. But his English notebook was safe inside his coat. That night, he looked at the word storm. He wrote a sentence. The storm is big. I am wet. It was a small sentence. Wipe on day. But he smiled, because it was his sentence, not from the book, from his life, from his real, quiet, rainy life. Daniel began to believe again, not in big dreams, but in small progress. He knew the journey was long, but he had started, and that changed everything. Daniel decided to take his learning more seriously. He found an old phone in his drawer and downloaded a free English learning app. The app had simple conversations. A woman said, "Hello, how are you?" And a man replied, "I am fine, thank you." "And you?" Daniel listened many times. He repeated the sentences slowly. His tongue felt heavy. His voice was not clear, but he continued every night before work. Sometimes, he felt silly talking to his phone in an empty room, but each word he spoke made the silence feel a little smaller. After a few days, he learned new words: coffee, early, tired, jacket. He made sentences like I drink coffee, I am tired, my jacket is blue. He smiled at small things, like saying blue clearly, or finishing one page without stopping. These small wins kept him going. Then came a harder day. The app asked him to repeat a whole conversation, but he could not remember the second sentence. He tried again and again, but he kept making mistakes. His pronunciation was bad. The words did not come out right. Daniel felt frustrated. He looked at the phone and said, "Maybe I'm just too old for this." He almost deleted the app that night, but instead, he turned off the screen and sat in silence. He thought of the book again. The first sentence, "Hello, my name is Anna." He whispered it. Then he said, "Hello, my name is Daniel." And that small line brought a strange peace to his heart. The next day, he tried a new method. He talked to himself out loud. Simple sentences about his life, like, "I go to work now." He did this while making coffee, tying his shoes, walking to the bus stop. It felt strange, but it helped him remember words better. He called it self-talk. Talking to himself became part of his routine. It was free, private, and helped him stay brave. Sometimes, he talked while looking in the mirror. "How are you, Daniel?" he would say, and answer, "I am okay. I am trying my best." He noticed his voice changing. It was still slow, but more confident. He began to like the sound of his English voice. One night, he forgot his phone at home. At work, he had no app, no music, no lesson, just the cameras and his quiet desk. So he made his own lesson. He looked around and named things in English: desk, light, clock, chair, camera, door, window, keys. He made sentences. The light is bright. The chair is old. The clock is slow. He smiled again. He was learning from the real world. Daniel started writing short stories in his notebook, just 5 lines each. Like a man walks. He sees a dog. The dog is hungry. The man gives food. The dog is happy. His grammar was not perfect, but he was practicing, creating, expressing. He began to enjoy the process, even the mistakes. Then one evening, a young cleaner came into the building. She spoke English. She said, "Hi, do you work every night?" Daniel froze. He understood the question, but he was afraid to answer. He felt his heart beat fast. His mouth stayed shut. She smiled and repeated, Do you work every night? Daniel took a breath and said slowly, Yes, I work night. His sentence was not perfect, but it was real. His first real English answer to a real English speaker. The cleaner said, Cool, I'm Mia, he replied. I am Daniel. Then they both smiled, and she continued her work. Daniel sat down. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from joy. He had just spoken English in real life. It was not a dream. He wrote it down in his notebook, spoke to Mia, said I work night. I am Daniel. That sentence became his first real success. After that, Daniel became braver. He greeted people in English if they looked friendly. Just, good evening or nice to see you. Some nights, nobody came, but he kept practicing alone. His words were still broken, but his confidence was growing. He knew he had a long way to go, but something had changed. Learning English was no longer a job. It was a part of his life. Daniel started looking for more ways to learn. He read online about a method called shadowing. It sounded strange, but interesting. The idea was simple: listen to English and repeat it at the same time, like an echo. No stopping, no translating, just following the sound. He found a video with a man saying, Hi, I'm Jake. I live in New York. Daniel pressed play and spoke right after him. Hi, I'm Jake. I live in New York. His voice mixed with the speaker's voice. It felt like running behind someone faster than him. He tried again, then again. It was difficult. He stumbled over words. His tongue got tired. But he felt something changing inside him. The rhythm of the language started to live in his mouth. His words became faster. His speech became smoother, like a river learning to flow. Every morning before bed, he practiced shadowing for 10 minutes. He did not understand everything, but he heard the music of English more clearly. After a week, he could follow 1 minute without stopping. That was a big moment. He smiled in the mirror and said, I am improving. Then he found another method, the 3-pass method. First, watch a short video with subtitles. Second, watch without subtitles. Third, write down what you remember. He picked a cartoon, a funny video with a cat and a bird. The first time, he laughed. The second time, he focused. The third time, he wrote the cat jumps, the bird sings, the cat falls, the bird flies. Simple, but his own. He read the lines again with pride. He used these 2 methods every week, shadowing at night, 3-pass video in the morning. Slowly, his English world became more alive. One night, Mia the cleaner came early. She saw him watching the video and said, What are you learning? Daniel paused and smiled. English, speaking, Mia said. That's great. Keep going. Daniel nodded. Her words gave him energy. Just 2 sentences, but they felt like a medal. Daniel wanted to test himself. He opened a website where people practice English together. It was scary, talking to strangers, but he clicked join. The screen showed a man from Brazil. He said, Hello, I am Paulo. Daniel answered, Hi, I am Daniel. Nice meet you. Ow. Their conversation was short, 10 minutes, but Daniel used real English. He said, I work at night, and I like learning. And he understood Paulo. After the call, he sat still for 5 minutes. His heart was full. He had spoken to someone across the world in English. That was real power. Daniel began to believe in his voice. He still made mistakes. He still forgot words. But now he knew communication is not about being perfect. It is about being brave. He wanted to watch a full movie, so he chose a simple one, a romantic story with clear English. He watched it with subtitles first. The second time, he watched without them. He understood maybe 50%, but that was enough to feel proud. He was not just watching, he was listening, learning. The third time, he paused after each scene. He wrote down lines he liked. One line said, "Do not be afraid to love." He whispered it. He repeated it 5 times. It became more than a line from a movie. It became a message for his life. Daniel started using English at work more. When he wrote reports, he tried writing the time and details in English door, checked at 10:05. All clear. He made flashcards with words from the camera's gate. Floor, roof, stairs. Each word was a tool. Each sentence was a step. At night, when it was quiet, he stood outside the building and talked to the stars. I am learning. I am speaking. I am not alone. He no longer felt embarrassed. The journey became a part of who he was. A quiet man with a loud dream. His sister noticed. She called one day and said, "Daniel, you sound different." He laughed and said, "Maybe I am becoming someone new." She encouraged him to keep going. She said, "I'm proud of you." And that sentence stayed with him for days. Learning English was not a task now. It was like music in his daily life. It played when he cooked, when he walked, when he rested. And Daniel, the quiet night guard, was now a quiet learner with a growing voice. A man who believed again. One cold morning in December, Daniel received news he did not expect. The company decided to replace night guards with automatic systems. He would lose his job in 3 weeks. Just like that, without warning, after 8 years, he would have no work, no salary. He sat in silence for hours. The building felt strange, empty, like the future. He stared at the cameras, but he was not watching. All the English words in his head suddenly felt far away. His notebook stayed closed that night. His mouth stayed closed, too. When he got home, he didn't practice. He didn't shadow. He didn't write. He lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling nothing. The next day, Mia knocked on the office door. "Are you okay?" she asked. Daniel looked up, forced a smile, and said, "Not really." She waited, kind and quiet. Daniel added, "Job? Finish soon? No. Work." He struggled to speak. His words were broken again, not because of English, but because of sadness. Mia touched his shoulder and said, "I'm sorry, Daniel, but maybe this is not the end. Maybe this is a new page." He wanted to believe her, but his heart was heavy. His energy was gone. That night, he left his English book on the table. 3 days passed. No English, no practice, just coffee, sleep, and silence. The hope he had built now felt like dust in his hands. Then on Sunday, his sister visited. She brought soup and old photo albums. They sat together. Quiet, tired, but still family. She opened a page. It showed Daniel at 22, smiling, holding a book, next to a chalkboard. He was still a teacher then. She said, "You always loved learning, even when life was hard. You believed in education. Don't stop now." "Brother?" Daniel didn't answer. But that night, he opened his notebook again, just looked. Page after page of simple words and brave sentences. His eyes stopped on one page. It said, "I am not too old. I can learn. I am moving forward, slowly but truly." He did not remember when he wrote it, but it felt like a message from his past self to his tired self now. He whispered the line, then again, and slowly, he felt something warm return. Not a full fire, just a spark. The next morning, he made coffee and said aloud, "Today is not over. I still have words inside me." He picked one word, hope. He looked it up. He used it in 10 sentences. "I hope to learn more. I hope to try again." Then he opened the app. He listened to a voice say, "Every day is a new chance." He repeated it, slowly, like prayer. Daniel knew his situation had not changed. He was still losing his job. But something inside him was not giving up. He made a plan. Each day, one new word, one new sentence, one small action. That was enough to feel alive again. Mia visited again on Friday. He smiled and said, "I learn again. Little, but strong." She nodded and said, "That's the spirit." They sat for a few minutes. Not many words, but enough to remind Daniel connection is part of healing. He began writing short letters to himself, in English. Like, "Dear me, I know you are scared, but you have come far. Keep going." He kept the letters in his jacket. When he felt weak, he read them. They became his second voice, his second strength. Daniel found an online course for beginners. It was free, 1 hour each day. He joined quietly, no camera, no pressure, but when the teacher said, "Can someone read the next line?" Daniel's hand went up. He surprised even himself. He read slowly, "The girl is happy because she learns English." The class clapped. The teacher smiled. Daniel looked down and breathed deeply. It was the first time he used his voice in a group, the first time since the job loss. And it felt like a small return. He now studied every morning before sleep. He kept a whiteboard in the kitchen with 5 words: strength, courage, small, begin, voice. He looked at those words while washing dishes, while eating soup, while tying his shoes. They were more than vocabulary. They were his armor. Daniel knew storms would come again, but now he also knew where to find shelter. In words, in progress, in belief. He was no longer just a man learning English. He was a man learning how to stand again. 3 months after his last shift, Daniel woke up at 7 a.m. The sun touched the window. His room was quiet, but he was not alone, because now English was part of him. Not just the language, but the journey, the fight, the small victories, the new identity. He checked his phone. A message from his online class teacher said, "We are proud of your progress. You inspire the group." Daniel smiled. He remembered how scared he was on the first day. Now, he read full paragraphs out loud without fear. He joined a library near his house. He borrowed graded readers, short books for learners. He read one each week. He wrote new words in his notebook. One day, the librarian said, "Your English is improving quickly." He replied, "Thank you. I read every day. I love it." Daniel also helped a neighbor's son with English homework. Just simple things, verbs, spelling, reading. But the boy smiled and said, "You're a good teacher." That word stayed with him, teacher. It had been years since anyone called him that. But now, it felt real again. He applied for a part-time job at a small language center, not as a full teacher, but as a helper for beginners. At the interview, he said, "I understand fear. I start again, step by step. I want help others, like me." His English was slow, but honest. The manager smiled. "We need someone like you, someone with heart." 2 weeks later, Daniel stood in front of 5 beginners. His hands shook, but he spoke clearly. "Hello, I am Daniel. I started learning English 1 year ago. If I can do it, you can too." The students clapped. Some looked surprised. Some looked hopeful. Daniel saw himself in their eyes, lost, afraid, but not broken. After class, one woman came to him and whispered, "I feel stupid sometimes. I try, but I forget words." Daniel said, "Me too, but we keep going. One word, one day." It becomes a sentence, then a voice, then your story. That night, he wrote 5 simple lessons on the wall near his desk. Lessons not from books, but from life, from falling and rising. 1. Start small, but start. 2. Speak even if it's not perfect. 3. Talk to yourself like a friend. 4. One step is better than no step. 5. Do not learn English to impress others. Learn it to meet yourself. He repeated them every morning. They became his anchor, his prayer, his compass. Daniel kept growing. His English got better. But more than that, his heart opened wider. His world became brighter. His belief became stronger. He recorded his voice reading short stories. He sent them to his sister, who said, "I cry when I hear your words. You sound alive." One evening, he visited the old building where he worked. A new guard stood at the door. Daniel said, "I used to sit in that chair." The guard nodded. Daniel walked around for a few minutes. Then he stood outside, looked at the stars, and said softly, "Thank you." Not to a person, but to the dark, to the silence, to the hard nights that taught him how to speak again. He walked home slowly. The streets were the same, but he was different. Every sign, every word in English on the wall felt like an old friend. Daniel sat at his desk and opened his notebook. The last page was blank. He wrote one final sentence. "I was lost. I learned. I lived." Then he turned the page over and wrote in big letters, "This is your turn. Start today."